Now that we know the contents of Quarter Century Bonanza, what are the best budget Yu-Gi-Oh decks? More Yu-Gi-Oh strategies are cheaper, there's more opportunities, and today we're going to be ranking these strategies on top budget to peanut butter and jelly broke. Look, big dog, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm not even a fan of creamy peanut butter, but if I told you I liked nuts, it would just sound too weird. The crunchy peanut butter is the best though, not the extra crunchy, that's too much. Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with ya, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that's your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. Today in this budget tier list, we're gonna have some fun and exciting decks that I'm going to talk about because of Quarter Century Bonanza. And I'll also be giving you some updated takes on these strategies since we have new data in. But as you guys should already know, the criteria for the budget tier list is simple. Budget decks are assorted by if the deck can be built in that $100 price range. Keep in mind, big dog, that is the maximum stratosphere, not the minimal. There is no minimal. If somebody gave you money to construct these type of decks, then we probably cooking with them. The next criteria on this tier list is we're going to be placing these strategies based on their power. Of course, as an experienced Yu-Gi-Oh player with accomplishments, I got as many accomplishments as a high school graduate, which doesn't really say much because Bill Gates is a high school graduate and you're probably a college dropout. That means you have potential. And of course, I won't be using just my judgment. I will be using the judgment of some of the top players in the world, as well as statistics over the last couple of weeks. And the last criteria, I've said this too many times, can the deck get better? Yu-Gi-Oh strategies often have opportunities to improve, whether it's a format change, new cards coming out, or an increase to your budget. I will be considering all of those points in mind when I rank these strategies, and if you think that I forgot a particular strategy, go ahead and let me know down below in the comment section. Let's go ahead and start off with Fluendeweese. Now, Dinomorphia actually has some really big similarities to Fluendeweese. It is a deck that we also don't think is going to get any support anytime soon, but the only difference is that Dinomorphia has been topping events. It's actually crazy how much Dinomorphia has been topping. It's really, really strange. I think a part of this is because players have stopped playing Yubel as much, which is Dinomorphia's biggest weakness, but also because Dinomorphia Rexsturm is a huge weakness to the Yu-Gi-Oh meta. Who would have thought that Skill Drain was a powerful card? I mean, it's like it's limited or something. I'm gonna still put it in borderline though. While Dinomorphia is above Fluendeweese, one of the biggest things that you have to watch out for is that when you dump money into this strategy, that's pretty much what you're going to get. It's only so many resources and so many upgrades that you can do for this deck. Unfortunately, a Starlight version of Dinomorphia Theresias does not make the deck stronger. Maybe. It'll definitely make me feel better when I lose against the deck. Now, Swordsoul players have been going crazy. As a Swordsoul connoisseur, you know, hands down, I love this deck. And the new support that is coming out is pretty good if it were Swordsoul support. The problem with the Tingyi cards is that it's better for Tingyi more than it is for Swordsoul. And even still, the new cards have some pretty big weaknesses. For right now, I'm going to put it in takes a good pilot. Swordsoul is still at that point where you need 2 cards to be able to equate to your opponent's 1-card combo. And unfortunately, this deck isn't even the best hand trap deck in the room like it once was. There's actually a better deck that we're staring at right now in Marincess, who again, just got triple tactics thrust. Marincess is the wave, having a searchable monster effect negation, and when you get more money, you can pair it with cards like Dominus Impulse. Another thing that I also love about Marincess is that while Rivalry of the Warlords is limited alongside of Gozen Match, this deck can play both, giving you a decent chance to open one of them or the other, which does the same thing. The problem with Marincess is that it has as many tops as you do. Marincess is good, but it has its own problems. I'm gonna put it in borderline. It's a strong strategy that has some pretty unfair things going on for it, but it needs the correct player to put it together. Now, you could almost say the exact same thing with Exosister. With Nibiru the Primal being out of the format, you may just cook. But some of the biggest problems for Exosister is that it is a Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that's similar to Swordsoul. It needs multiple cards to be able to function, and while its functionality isn't as restrictive as Swordsoul, its functionality is still pretty restrictive. What you mean I'm XC deck and can't make Zeus. So you telling me I'm a worse Raziel deck? I think that this strategy takes a really good pilot. No, big dog, you cannot dimension shift your way out of every situation. There's going to be times where you have to play Yugioh. And unfortunately, right now, Exosister does need a little bit more support or the correct pilot to be able to navigate correctly. Next, we got my boys, bro. I'm Batman. Now, where is he? Heroes are a pretty solid Yu-Gi-Oh deck that haven't done anything significant recently, but it is a strategy that is getting some pretty good support in Supreme Darkness with the evil hero monsters. I think despite its current track record, Heroes are gonna go into the solid choice category. The card that I am most excited for above all of the other hero cards is the Evil Hero Prisma monster. That card is crazy good no matter what variant that you're playing. But I think even bigger, Heroes have an opportunity to be a really good deck because of these cards overall. I even made a video a while back playing the hero deck so you guys can see how cool the new cards are. Go ahead and check that one out. They say cats are controlling people through the pyramids, and I think they may have something there because I'm gonna go ahead and put Purrely in top budget. Contrast to decks like Fluundereese and Marincess, Purrely has consistently got there, and we know why. It's a really good Yu-Gi-Oh deck that can play with just about anything, and when you don't need those cards, you can just discard them. It also doesn't need to go into the extra deck as much as some other strategies, meaning that the Molchummy cards don't really work. At least, not as well. Now, it should go without saying that if you guys are looking for a budget competitive Yu-Gi-Oh deck, right now, Tenpai Dragon is hands down the best strategy. Especially if you're one of those Yu-Gi-Oh players that doesn't have a brain and just wants to turn it off and go into battle phase, this is for you. You won't believe how many players that you see on Master Duel play this deck incorrectly and get to high ranks. It's ridiculous. The same thing can pretty much be applied to the TCG, though there are 3 games, not 1, so you don't get just as lucky. Plants do have decent success, but are also a fairly complicated deck to run. Just recently, I seen somebody start off with Plants and actually just play Oromage. I was thoroughly impressed. I love how this deck has variants between the Oromage, the Sun Seeds, and of course the cards that you like the most, those Ragnaraka monsters. And overall, I think it's another one of those solid choice Yu-Gi-Oh decks. We know that we're going to continue to get more plant support, and every single time a card says plant on its card text, it normally does warp this deck a little bit further. I think contrast to Tenpai Dragon, the only problem with this deck is that it's incredibly hard to play and to learn how to play correctly. Now with Exodia, my boy, the forbidden one. Yeah, dog, I don't think anybody should ever go against Exodia's pace. It is a top budget Yu-Gi-Oh deck hands down. Not only does this deck have the pedigree to top YCS, it's followed up with regional tops. I genuinely think that this deck is the real deal. Does it have stun elements? I mean, Secret Village of the Spellcasters is a good card, right? But also being able to summon a huge monster that can negate cards on your opponent's side of the field is another reason why this deck does so well. And as you guys already know, I'm Black Atlas. The master of faster, the king of disaster. And is it just me, or has Red Dragon Archfiend support been dog water? We got Red Dragon Archfiend support in the last set, and it's terrible. It's like Konami goes out of their way to f us when it comes to good Yu-Gi-Oh support. It's very simple. Give us more Dark Dragon monsters. Give us a good field spell. Give us a way to turn our Resonator tuner monsters into non-tuners. And modified level. That should be on the field spell. Until then, I think that Red Dragon Archfiend is a very fun pet deck, but that's pretty much where it stops. Now, Labyrinth, my boys. Ho, 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 ho. This one and it one. I think Labyrinth is closer to Plant than what people like to believe. This deck may seem brainless, but it is one of the more complicated Yu-Gi-Oh strategies because you have to learn how to use your resources. If you don't, you're cooked. But if you do play the deck correctly, it can be equally rewarding, being able to search cards like Different Dimension Ground and also Dimensional Barrier against some of those helmet matchups. It also can play around the Charmies, and when you do get a little bit more money, Dominus Impulse becomes a good card. I think that this deck is a solid choice. It actually has fair representation, but I think, again, one of the biggest problems with Labyrinth is player knowledge. Being able to learn how to play the deck correctly at all times is incredibly hard. It is one of the most skilled, if not the most skilled trap card in the game. Now, as for Orcust, the new powerful Link 1 monster is crazy. And it also even has a Link 4 monster that allows you to take your opponent's bitch on their turn. Bro, I don't know what instrument that is, but I definitely want to play it. As for Orcust, I'm actually going to go ahead and put it in Borderline. See, here's the biggest problem with Orcust and the new support. We have no idea when we're getting it. It could be in a couple of months, it could be in a couple of years, it could be inside of some side set that nobody wants to buy in 2027. Oh, it'll definitely be one of those anniversary sets too, right? Because we'll still have the 25th anniversary for 4 years. I think the best way to play Orcust right now is to use a Horus variant, maybe even a Horus Phantom Knight variant, which is a pretty good deck. It just doesn't have the results to be able to prove itself right now. It does, though, have some pretty unfair things going for it. Melodious is almost like one of the ultimate budget cheap Yu-Gi-Oh decks. It's solid choice, hands down. A decently strong Yu-Gi-Oh deck I would never count out because you can always mix and match those hand traps. And Goblin Biker is another one of those solid choices, boy. Let's go crazy, kabunga! I absolutely love Goblin Biker. It's a really fun deck to play, and it's had some success because of the new card, Goblin Biker Grand Entrance. Solid Yu-Gi-Oh deck that's really cheap right now. Now, for the players that say Ray is Bay, I can disagree with that sentiment, but I won't disagree that this is now a solid choice budget option. With Triple Tactics Thrust now being cheap, this deck has access to its fullest potential without spending as much money as you would originally have to. It's easily one of them ones, my boy. It's a pretty good deck. Just don't do anything crazy. I think branded players would try to crucify me if I put this anything under than top budget, and it's because it's true. Branded should be in solid choice because it requires a ridiculous amount of skill. But a lot of those matchups, you can just win for free if you know the simple lines for branded. Or if you're still playing Gimmick Puppet Lock in 2024. You're sick. I'm kind of disappointed Valmonica never did anything better than Peanut Butter Jelly Broke, despite it having some of the worst mechanics in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Pendulum needing counters? Oh my God. It's a strategy that's a lot stronger than it looks, but statistics will never prove that. Plunder Patrol takes a good pilot, solid Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck, but unfortunately time has moved past it. And I would say that Ice Barriers is 100% borderline. Look, my boy, I'm still not coping. Lancier is crazy. And it ain't because they keep on clapping me in Master Duel. The biggest problem with Ice Barrier is that it's pretty good going first if your opponent does it Imperm or Tactics Talent you, and it struggles going second. But its overall power, though, it's not to be underestimated. Virtual World. Virtual World has some good things going for it. That's why I'm gonna put it takes a good pilot. Hey, man, look. Outside of it being inconsistent as all hell, if you can summon Shin, you might be able to win games. I would say that Sharks are a solid choice. Not an amazing Yu-Gi-Oh deck right now, but once we get that 7th Tachyon card, woo! Boy, you better be watching out because Jaws Part 4 is on the way. What was that stupid movie? It was a shark versus like a dinosaur or something? Or was it a shark versus a gorilla? Damn, I'm old. But yeah, it's gonna be that level's a cataclysmic disaster once the deck gets the card. It was Sharks and Tornadoes or something. Whoever made that needed to be shot. Six Samurai does get support from the new set, but unfortunately, it doesn't fix its problems. Like I said before, Six Samurai is very boom or bust. Either you booming and hand looping, or you busting, and I don't want to say the rest. Takes a good pilot. Memorial Tops have been happening all across the board. Easily a solid choice Yu-Gi-Oh deck. And look, guys, there's a lot of solid budget Yu-Gi-Oh decks. It's a pretty good time. Ritual Beast getting both Arch Nemesis Protos, Thunder Dragon Colossus, and Ritual Beast Elder Tamer. You better bet your ass this deck's budget now. I would say just like how Mermail, Plants, and Labyrinth are, once you master this deck, it becomes really good. But it also has unfair cards. Arch Nemesis Protos, Dimension Shifter. So yeah, that kind of puts it over the top for me. I'm gonna put it in top budget. Rescue Ace and Fire King getting that Diabell engine for cheap. Look, big dog, you do not have to play Azamina in every single deck. For both of these decks, Wanted and Diabell were really good cards because it allowed you to use Original to summon their level 1s respectively. I think once players realize that first Fire King can be played as a pure deck, I have a profile and it's crazy, but also the Diabell Star engine works with Rescue Ace and you don't need the other cards to compete at the very moment. You'll start to realize that both of these decks are top budget Yu-Gi-Oh decks. And bro, the top 2 rows is full. That's crazy. I wouldn't say that Yu-Gi-Oh's in the best spot. Feeling like you need cards like the Mocharmies, which together are about $600, and Dominus Impulse, which is another 150 plus, is not a good feeling. But I really want to point out is that you can be successful without those cards. Unfortunately, there are going to be times where you get completely cooked by them and it's going to feel unfair. But one thing that I do believe in is you, big dog. I think despite the situations that you might be put in, you'll rise above the occasion and you'll be too strong. With that being said, Thunder Dragon Colossus got Thunder Dragons and Arch Nemesis. That's not too strong. It's peanut butter jelly broke. Soon, my friend. 7 grams of protein per serving type soon. But I ain't gonna lie. The peanut butter powder is better. But brokies won't know that. They can't afford it. Lightsworn also did get support in Punishment Dragon. Really good. A little too late though. Unfortunately, Lightsworn just never really made it out. Not a deck that was really good. Madolche got Madolche Salon, making it incredibly cheap. Oh my god, man, what are we doing? We were going to have a tier list with almost no decks in peanut butter jelly, bro, but somehow they got put towards the end because I gotta kill my babies. Guys, you're Ninja Champion. Go ahead and check out Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Challenge for that Ninja Duel. You'll see the best it can do. I don't think Trap Tricks is peanut butter jelly broke, but I also don't think it's borderline. I think that a good Trap Tricks player is probably a better Sky Striker player, unfortunately. You guys know what I'm saying. But Trap Tricks does suffer from a problem where it's really good when going first, unless your opponent does have the answers, and also not as great going second. The difference is that Ice Barrier's going first board is a lot more busted. Trap Tricks, it's alright. Next, because of Bonfire, Ashen. Ashen. Boy, if you don't take your ashy ass home, dog, go home, go home. That's all that I have for today's budget tier list, big dog. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to click on some other ones so I can catch you on the next one.